Okay, hello professor. This video is to accomplish the task. We are working with materials. So now I'll try to discuss some concepts from chapter number 4, Design and Adaptation of Materials. For this activity, we had to decide what materials we would be designing, what material to use. You said we could use a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, but you said we can use a PowerPoint presentation. So I decided not to use a presentation. I decided to use a mind map. And then I had previous attempts to make this video, to do this activity, and I evaluated my material. I evaluated that mind map, and I decided to use a word cloud. As you can see, we have a word cloud where you can read the concepts of this chapter. And that's what we do when we teach the language. We either adapt or design materials, and then we evaluate those materials. And if they are capable of being used in following courses, we we keep them, or maybe we adapt them, or maybe we discard them and get new materials. We design new materials, or we adapt other materials. So I think these three concepts are very important. We can read them in the word cloud: adaptation, design, and evaluation. That's what we do as teachers. In some cases, sometimes we adapt uh, materials which are authentic. Nonan, I think it was Nonan, who lists three types of materials: um, authentic materials, authentic adapted materials, and materials which are designed specifically for the purpose of learning a language. Okay, so adapt, design, and evaluation. That's very important for materials. Then in the word cloud, we can read learner factors, difficulty, and task. Task is related to task difficulty. Okay, as we know, if the task is extremely difficult, learners tend to lose motivation. And if it is extremely easy, learners will do it and not take advantage of it at all. So, task and difficulty are very related, but let's focus on task. The task is what learners do with the language, what learners accomplish by means of the language. In the chapter, they have a diagram where we can see that tasks are influenced by several factors. Nonan mentions goals, input, activities, teacher role, and learner role. And then we have also settings as an additional component. Students also have needs about the language learning, not all of their needs, only the needs about the language learning. Okay, so we have needs analysis. The teacher, when he decides to adapt, to adopt, to design a material, a new course book, textbook, or supplementary materials, he should be aware, or he or she should be aware of the goals of the learners, but also the needs of the learners. He should, he must, I would say, he must be aware of the needs of the learner about this process, the learning of a language. Noonan, again, in the list of these factors, mentions the input. Input, for Noonan, refers to the data that form the point of departure for the task, which for a communicative task refers to any of a range of authentic sources or authentic type sources. And I mentioned previously, the main design issue concerning input is whether it should be authentic, adapted authentic, or specially written or recorded. Okay, so that's about the factors. I'll try to summarize some concepts because we only have 10 minutes. So let's continue reading the, the word cloud. On the left, we can read top down. That's in capital big blue letters. Top down. That's a strategy, right? That's a strategy in contrast to bottom up. For example, for reading comprehension, when you have a text, it is a metaphorical way of expression. When you have a text, it is here, down. The bottom up strategy is when from this goes up, bottom up. The information, the knowledge goes from the material up to the learner's head. But in the task-based learning, perhaps it is more important to consider the top-down strategy because our learners have on their mind previous knowledge, purposes, objectives, goals, they have interests, needs, they have um, some information about the topic, about the reading or whatever. We can use this information for them to understand the reading or to understand the listening, for example. So when we are dealing with materials, it is maybe not crucial, but very important to consider this strategy, the top down. Okay, we have real world and pedagogic. There's a distinction between pedagogic and real world. The distinction can be applied to all components of a task, goal, input, and activities. Okay, let's continue with the word cloud because time is running. We have the skills, the four skills: speaking, writing, reading, and listening. And the materials have to cope with the the nature of these skills. Okay, the specific nature of each skill. If it is writing, what we are going to work with the learners, our materials have to uh, present some features according to the nature of this skill. It is the same for reading and writing and speaking. Okay, the materials have uh, to to fulfill some requirements for each skill. Okay, there's another word, explicit. We are aware that the student is conscious of the process. He knows he is learning language. The materials are explicit, but also the process of the language of the learning of a language is an intellectual task. The idea that the learner consciously affects the learning process. Okay, we have a list of reasons to adapt materials and about the adaptation of the materials, we can mention the personalization or individualization of the materials, but also we can mention some strategies which are simplifying or modifying, uh, adding, deleting, and reordering the materials. Thank you very much, Professor.